What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Man, it's been a minute since I've had the time to get back into this thing. Finally got the other stuff in life that was going on settled down. All good things, all taken care of. So now we can get back to the CUCV. All right, so for my steam port, I found this little barb. I actually came across this in the LS Swap Square Bodies group, but it's a little 1/4" nipple on one side and 5/8 if I remember correctly on the other. So I've got a piece of hose. I'll just push the 5/8 hose over the nipple, over the fitting here on the radiator, and then push my steam vent on to the other side. Should be pretty quick and painless, easy install. Hopefully it goes as easy as I think it's going to. I think we got that steam port plumbed up. So it follows up just like factory, comes over, connects to my little brass adapter, connects here into the hose, which goes into this heater fitting on the radiator. I'm gonna fill it the rest of the way up with fluid. I'm gonna try this out. I specifically and purposefully didn't cut the steam hose, because even though I've seen this work for other people on the internet, doesn't mean it's going to work for me. This is a pressure system, and honestly, I don't know if these pieces are going to stay on there under 15 or 16 psi. So I'll try it. If it works, awesome. If it doesn't work, well, I still have plenty of hose, and I have a backup plan if that situation arises. But for now, I'm going to get it filled the rest of the way up with fluid and move on. I think I'm going to get started working on the gauges. Okay, so I got to get these gauges figured out. I know I want to have my oil pressure, water temperature, and boost vacuum gauge in my factory cluster here. My factory fuel gauge is going to work. My factory speedometer is going to work. This pod right here in the factory configuration is the 4-wheel drive light. It tells you when you're 4-wheel drive. So I want to try to keep that there. These three were just dummy lights, and it works out that I have 3 gauges I want to put in. So what I'm going to try to do here is cut the back out of this cluster in that sort of shape, so I'll have room for my gauges. And then I'm going to mount the gauges themselves to the metal overlay here. Close enough, you get the idea. But I'll make these holes just big enough for the gauge to fit through, and then I'll flush mount against the metal bracket here. Hopefully, well, I mean, the gauges weigh nothing, so I'm sure that will hold them just fine. I should have plenty of space behind them in order to get the wiring run and everything else, and it should fit up with my factory cluster gauge dash panel pretty well too. We've got all our holes enlarged, our gauges sit in there. I'm going to sit it up onto the actual rest of the cluster. See how it looks. There we go. So far looks pretty good. And the last thing I'm going to need to do for this is take my factory lens. I don't think it's going to clear over those gauges. No. So I'm going to need to cut off this portion of the lens. I'll try to keep enough of it here so that my cover over this piece is still there. But the rest of it I'll cut down around here, because I'm not going to need that. All right, team, I think we got it. Man, I'm pretty stoked. This is going to look, I mean, it's going to look factory, I think. They've got oil pressure, water temperature, boost. Over here where the factory auxiliary battery charge gauge was, we've got our wideband sensor. And then up in the top left is going to be our four-wheel drive indicator light, factory speedometer, factory fuel gauge. I think it looks great. I'm pumped. Came out better than I thought. Wasn't as difficult as I thought. So now it's just a matter of get it in and get it wired. Good progress for today. The finer stuff always takes the longest time, but we got that part done. And hopefully we'll get back to it tomorrow. See you then. All right, everybody. So another day. Got some time out here. Now, I'm about to part out, or I am parting out this Yukon XL. It's a 2005. Now, what I notice is, as a 2005, it has electric fans in the front. It has a primary fan and a secondary fan, which I'm sure any of you familiar with LS swaps already knew that. Now, what I'm surprised to find, and I'm going to do a little bit more measuring and exploring here, is the upper mounting positions on that electric fan shroud are the same width as the upper mounts on my mechanical fan shroud. And I'm going to measure and see what the height is, but the height looks pretty darn similar too. So I'm going to take a few measurements and see if I can't get those electric fans to fit up nicely on the setup that I have. Turns out that these electric fans fit almost perfect in the factory location. This is the engine side, this is the radiator side. I had to trim this piece out down by the steering gearbox in order to clear the frame and the gearbox itself. There's also a little handle that sticks out here. I had to trim that off, but the rest of the shroud is still, I mean, I didn't have to change anything else, and it plops down into place. The top mounts, factory mounts are going to work. I can even use the factory bolt location. All I had to do was take the little nut clips out and weld a nut to the back of it that's the right thread and bolt size for the fan shroud mounting bolts for these guys. I'm gonna have to shorten these bolts about a ½ an inch, but they have plenty of meat, so that's not a concern. But yeah, I got going on it and saw how close it was, and it was just too similar and too close and easy to do to not. And it's gonna make my intercooler piping and everything else so much easier having that extra space available in the front. So I just couldn't not do it, especially since I have everything else I need, all the wiring and everything to make it work. So I'm gonna get those bolts shortened. I did find a weep in my radiator, and I may or may not have made it worse. I tried to pinch it off with a pair of pliers and made it a little worse. So I'm waiting for the antifreeze to leak down below that level, and then I'm going to try to seal it up with a little bit of solder. I don't have a lot of experience repairing radiators. I've always just, when they leak, they get replaced. But I can't find a replacement that is this size anywhere. Not for any square body trucks, not by measurements. Like, I don't know what I got this out of, but it must not have come out of what I think it came out of, because I cannot find a radiator that is 34 inches wide by 21 inches tall core like this is. I don't know what it's out of. Even the radiators that I look up for the CUCV, like the stock fit radiators, they only come in a 19-inch tall version, and it's 21 inches tall. So I don't understand why I can't find one anywhere. Anyway, I wound up trying to heat it up and solder it in there. I think I did more harm than good. So I've got the pieces cut out where I'm pretty sure my leaks were, where I know my leaks were. I'm gonna try my best to solder these shut, and hopefully that stops my leaks. So wish me luck. I've never done this before. I'm pretty sure I was able to fix the leaks in the radiator. I got those leaks soldered up. I've got the electric fans mounted up. They're nice and sturdy. Not gonna go anywhere. Freed up a lot of space in front of the engine. I can actually use this to run my intercooler ducting, which is gonna make it so much easier. And now I think I'm gonna finish getting the gauges installed. I picked up a little bit more vacuum line, so I have that for my vacuum boost gauge. And yeah, I'm gonna just keep plugging away at stuff. All right, everybody, lots of progress. Good, successful day, I think. So what do we get done here? Well, we've got our radiator installed, and I'm about 95% sure it's also repaired. It's not leaking anymore now. We got our electric fans mounted up, and we got the harness pulled out of the donor vehicle, so I can work on getting that wired and pinned into the PCM tomorrow. We got our gauges installed and working. Yeah, we've got our gauges going here. So we've got our oil pressure gauge, that works. Our boost vacuum gauge. This is our water temperature gauge. I still need to hook up the sending unit for this. And our wideband right over here. And I'll have to figure out, it looks like my dimmer doesn't work for my regular gauge lights, but everything else, with the exception of the water temperature, is working. Good oil pressure. Water temperature, it's working, but it's not connected to the sensor yet. Our vacuum boost gauge and our wideband all reading, doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I'm pretty pumped. Big progress. Slowly chipping away at everything. Now that I've got my gauges installed and mostly working, I have to get the water temperature sensor put in tomorrow and get that wired. But now that we've got that stuff hooked up, really the only other thing I need to do is just finish the plumbing. I still need to get my transmission cooler plumbed, cooler lines plumbed, and the cooler installed. And then I actually got to take some measurements before I go in tonight so I can get an intercooler ordered. I already have an intercooler piping kit, so I just need to order an intercooler that's gonna fit right up here in the front. Yeah, so that's it. A lot of progress today. Good day, pretty happy with everything. Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. It really helps me out. And if you have any questions, comments, or enjoyed the video, leave them in the comment section below and give the video a thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.